Good morning, everyone. Call this regular council meeting to order. This meeting is held in person and by teleconference in accordance with Municipal Government Act. Council chambers are open to the public and remote participation is available. The chair may invite public comments on specific items. When recognized, these please state your name. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes or 10 minutes for a group in accordance with the procedure bylaw. This meeting is being recorded and may be published online. Please mute your devices so it doesn't disrupt the meeting. All persons have the right to attend. However, any disruptive behavior may result in removal at the discretion of the chair. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding. We do have one councillor participating remotely, so we'll just do a roll call vote. And also my understanding is we are doing e-scribe as well for the vote. So go ahead.
Councillor Laprise, I'm here.
Councillor Hebbs is here.
Councillor Bigger here.
Reeve Klassen is here.
Councillor Clayton here.
Councillor Kester's here.
Councillor Lauerson's here.
Thank you. And Glenn, we can hear you pretty well. So we have an agenda.
Thanks.
We have agenda for us. Is there any additions, deletions, or changes?
Yes, good morning. Administration would like to request revising the meeting agenda to schedule item 10, the in-camera water servicing report, to 11 a.m. so that our consultant is present to present.
Okay. Council okay with that?
I'm good with that. I don't know if I'll be able to sit much past noon either. My
Administration.
legs are really giving me trouble.
Administration is just requesting the closed session be at 11 a.m. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, motion to accept the agenda as amended.
I'll move the agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. Motion's on the floor. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Anybody else seeing it? I didn't get it. Oh, yeah. I'm in the wrong date. Hang on here. Always the first one's the hardest. Just getting there. It was in the last meeting. There we are. I don't see that here. So I needed my glasses to see it up there. That's carried. Okay. Any notices of motion from any councillors? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move into the bylaw reading and public hearing. So I will motion for us to go into public hearing for item 2026-02. I'll call the question. You guys just wanted to see what I could see and what I couldn't see. Just waiting for one vote, or okay, for Glenn. Okay, Glenn, did you hear I called the question for moving into bylaw reading? Public hearing?
Something happened to the web page. I don't have a clue what it means.
Okay. Are you in favor?
I'm in favor, yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's carried. Good morning. As per section 192, the procedure bylaw 2025-36, public hearing will be conducted in the following order. A staff report by administration, presentation by the applicant, presentations by the public in support of the proposal, presentations by the public in opposition to the proposal, rebuttal presentation by the applicant limited only to the comments read or heard in opposition of the proposal, final questions of administration, and council motion to close the public hearing. The applicant will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Any individual supporting or opposing the proposal will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Any groups or of individuals will have up to 10 minutes to speak. The applicant will then have a maximum of 10 minutes to present their rebuttal. If there are any questions relating to this process, please refer to the procedure bylaw. So moving on to the bylaw 2026-02, can administration please verify that notice of public hearing was circulated in accordance with the Municipal Government Act?
Good morning, Reeve Clausen. Yes, the notice was circulated in accordance with the Act.
Okay. Are there any written submissions that are not in the public package?
Through the chair, no additional submissions were received after the agenda was published.
Thank you. Request that anybody coming to the podium, please state their name and address for the record. Please proceed.
Good morning, Council. Taylor Felt with the county's Planning and Development Services team, here to present bylaw 2026-02 for Council's consideration. Referring to the location map found on page 12 of the agenda package, the subject lands are located approximately 4.5 kilometers northwest of the village of Hussar and immediately northwest of the intersection of Range Road 203 and Township Road 243A. The parcel is approximately 11.5 acres in size, and it's triangular in shape. It's bound by Range Road 203 to the east, Township Road 243A to the south, and an undeveloped road allowance to the north. The application proposes to redesignate the subject lands from the Agricultural General District to the Industrial General District in order to facilitate a future development of a solar power facility and a co-located data processing facility. The site is currently undeveloped and it consists primarily of tame pasture land with some wetlands and an abandoned railway corridor along the southern boundary. Surrounding land uses are predominantly agricultural, with several farmsteads and rural residential developments located within about a kilometer and a half of the site. There's also an existing oil and gas operation located approximately 250 meters west of the subject lands. I have the proposed development plan up on the screen here, and I can walk through it as we go. The proposed development includes two primary components. There's a 750 kilowatt solar array, which is a collection of solar panels or photovoltaic panels mounted on adjustable racking systems. And that is located in the northeast portion here, these long linear strips. And a 500 kilowatt data processing facility housed within a small prefabricated or containerized structure. And that's just located south of the proposed access and approach here. The solar facility is intended to offset energy consumption associated with the data processing use, with the potential to export excess energy back to the grid. Construction is anticipated to occur over approximately a 3-month period, with very limited long-term activity on site, consisting primarily of 6 to 8 maintenance visits throughout the year. The subject site does not currently have an approach. However, a new access to Range Road 203 is proposed and will be reviewed at the development permit stage. Traffic generation is expected to be minimal with limited construction, and as I mentioned, only 6 to 8 site visits annually once the site's operational. Based on this, the proposal is not anticipated to result in significant impacts to the county's surrounding road network. The proposed development does not require water or wastewater servicing, given the nature of the solar and data processing uses. Water is also not required for the operations of either use. Stormwater will be managed through a low-impact design with minimal site disturbance and maintenance of existing vegetation, excuse me, resulting in runoff conditions that are expected to remain consistent with the existing conditions. A desktop environmental assessment was completed in support of the application. I'll summarize some of the key points here. There are 2 wetlands identified on the site, which are expected to be avoided through site design and appropriate setbacks. There were no rare plant species identified in the assessment, but the site may provide for the habitat of wildlife species, and mitigation measures such as timing restrictions and site sweeps are recommended where appropriate prior to construction. With the implementation of standard mitigation measures, the proposal is not expected to result in any significant environmental impacts. A noise impact assessment was completed in accordance with provincial requirements. The assessment determined that predicted sound levels at the nearest residence, which are just southwest of the site, are below allowable thresholds. Noise contributions from the development are minor relative to the existing background conditions, which means that the existing oil and gas operation just west of the site will absorb any noise produced by these uses, and it's not expected to generate more than is existing in the area. In terms of visual impacts, the development is relatively small in scale and located in a low-density rural setting. The existing topography and abandoned railway corridor will provide some natural screening. And I'm just going to flip on our screen here to a Google Maps image. This drive-by here does show the raised rail corridor that will provide some sound mitigation and natural screening from adjacent lands. And no significant glint or glare impacts are anticipated. However, the applicant will submit a glare hazard assessment with their development permit application if the land use redesignation is approved. The application was circulated to internal departments and external agencies. Key items to highlight: Alberta Forestry and Parks identified the wetland on site and recommended avoidance and greater setbacks, which the applicant considered, and they adjusted the footprint of the solar array and site plan accordingly. Fire Services noted that an emergency response plan and fire inspection will be required at the development permit stage. And our operations department noted that a formal approach and road use agreement will be required prior to construction. So in summary, there were no significant objections raised through the circulation process. The applicant also undertook voluntary consultation with landowners within a 1-mile radius prior to submitting their application. No responses were received by the applicant. And then the county did not receive any comments from adjacent landowners or neighbors when the application was received, and then again when notification prior to the public hearing was circulated. I'm just moving to page 7 of the report here. The proposal has been evaluated against the municipal development plan and generally aligns with its key policy directions. At a high level, the MDP supports economic diversification, including emerging sectors such as renewable energy and technology-based uses, while also emphasizing the importance of protecting agricultural lands. The proposal essentially does strike this balance. It introduces a new form of development that supports the county's economic objectives while remaining modest in scale and compatible with surrounding land uses, which are primarily agricultural. The applicant was also reviewed against the commercial and industrial policies in section 3.7 of the MDP, including the criteria for single lot industrial development. These criteria consider things such as access, compatibility, servicing, and offsite impacts. Based on the supporting technical information provided by the applicant, which was reviewed by the county's engineers and technical professionals, administration is satisfied that the proposal meets criteria and can be developed without adverse impacts. The site has been assessed, has access to the municipal road network, requires minimal servicing, and generates very limited traffic, which aligns with the MDP's direction for efficient and appropriate rural development. Overall, the proposal is consistent with the intent of the municipal development plan and other statutory policies and plans at the county. So based on administration's review, the supporting technical information demonstrates that the proposal can be developed without significant adverse impacts on the surrounding area. And accordingly, administration is recommending that council move first reading of bylaw 2026-02, proceed with second reading, and grant third and final reading today. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a question to administration. Do we ask, if council asks any questions, can we do that now or do we save it to the 6th point? Because I know this is a little different how we used to do it. We used to read first reading, kick things off, and then questions would come after. So I just wanted to.
Through the Reeve to Council, you can ask Mr. Taylor any questions now or wait until and have follow-up from administration after the applicant has proceeded in any when speaking in favor or opposition.
Perfect. Council have any questions for admin? Councilor Bigger.
Yes, I was just wondering, was there any landscaping that was proposed or thought of or needed or thought that they might be needed? I don't see anything in the package.
Through the chair, this is something that was considered and would be visited at the development permit stage. Depending on if we get to that stage, depending on the outcome of the glint and glare hazard assessment, some landscaping may be required, but was largely determined that rail corridor would provide some buffer from a visual standpoint.
Councilor Habs.
So I don't know if I should ask you or wait and ask the developer, but the question would be with the solar panels, do they put up a bond or like, how do we handle the recycling, when they reach the end of their life?
Through the chair to Councillor Hebs, I'll let the applicant and developer address that. But in terms of regulatory approvals, when you have a larger scale solar project like this, that would be a component of the application. With the new regulations the province has set out, that was something you'd have to address with your application there. So just something to keep in mind for future applications.
Anyone else? I just
I
had.
got a question.
Oh, go ahead, Councilor. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Setbacks. I see the things surrounded this parcel by a road on two sides and road allowance on the other side. Is there setbacks all the way around? And what is the setback? Is it 75 feet, if I remember right, or is it changed?
Through the chair to Councillor Kester, I do have the site plan up on the screen here, which is reflecting the setbacks here. It's 22.86 meters from the east property boundary, that'd be Range Road 203, and that would apply to the southern boundary as well. So this plan that's up on the screen here has considered those setbacks.
I can't see the screen, but on my package, I see it there too. And I'm guessing it's the north boundary too, is on a undeveloped road allowance. Is that or?
Through the chair, that's
curious.
Yeah, we're looking at page 17, same as you, Councilor Kester.
Yeah, I think that's the page I'm on.
Okay.
I will note that the setback of 22.86 meters does apply to that northern boundary. If the redesignation is approved, the applicant would like to have a variance considered, but will be able to still meet setbacks if that's not granted at the next stage.
Fair enough.
Okay, was there any thought of closing that road allowance, or was that come after? Or is it even think about?
Through the chair, that's not something that's been considered with the applicant's proposal at this time, but it is something that could be pursued at the applicant's will at subsequent stages.
Okay, thanks.
Just one question for clarity for me. In the package, it mentions data mining, and then we're talking data center. So which is it? Is it a mining or
Through the chair, I'll let the applicant maybe dive into more on what happens within the facility, but that would be a component of their proposal happening within the data processing facility.
And my reasoning is just because there's some on data centers, some provincial relaxations of taxation. So just want to make sure that's clear. But okay. Any other questions? We'll move to the second part then, presentation by the applicant. Just welcome. Please state your name and everything, then who you're representing, and then you have 5 minutes. If you go over 5 minutes, we can give you some more time if needed to. So, okay. And yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Rob Johannesson, representing the applicant 2770398 Alberta Limited. Thanks to the council for the opportunity to speak today. So yeah, I can talk a little bit about our company and dive into the project a little bit more. So our company, we're a small family-owned business, started by my dad and myself, experience in both solar and data processing. We have facilities operating in Ontario and Alberta today on both sides of the coin, and kind of experience in the tens to hundreds of projects, you know, going back through affiliates. The entity we're developing this under is a new entity, so you won't see a lot of track record there. Our project, as Taylor mentioned, 4.5 kilometers northwest of Hussar, 750 kilowatts of solar, 500 kilowatts of data processing. When we're talking about data processing, we're really talking about Bitcoin mining. So what that means is you have computers in the building, they're solving complex equations. As part of that process, they're securing the Bitcoin network, and then you're receiving rewards for doing that work. When you think about 500 kilowatts of data processing, it's about equivalent to 7 100 horsepower irrigation pumps, or 2 to 5 EV fast chargers, or a medium-sized fabrication shop. So we're not talking about a big mega project here. Like, I think sometimes people get confused about, well, you know, how much is 500 kilowatts? It's 0.5 megawatts. So a lot of the projects being proposed across the province today are in like the 200 megawatt range. So we're way smaller than that. It's a $2 million private capital investment, and we're not really asking for a lot of extra municipal infrastructure associated with that. So I think it's good for the county. In terms of the site, so our project footprint's going to be under 1 hectare. So we're not really using a lot of real estate here. The site is not class 1 or class 2 agricultural land. So we're not, you know, displacing prime agricultural land. And we utilize screw pile foundations for the solar. So we're not disturbing a lot of the soil, and that really allows for kind of, you know, to maintain the surface drainage, and also allows for easy reclamation at the end of the project. There were some questions on reclamation. We're going to own the land, so we're incentivized to maintain the value of the land. We're not going to just leave it with, you know, a bunch of solar panels sitting there. What else? We chose this site because of there's some nice benefits to it from kind of having a natural buffer from adjacent residents. We're placing the data processing container 700 meters from the nearest resident. So it's over 700 meters from the nearest resident, and the project boundaries are going to be over 500 meters. So it's not right next door to anyone. As Taylor mentioned, there's visual screening provided by the abandoned railway line. And then we also have nice proximity to Highway 1, and there's existing distribution lines from Fortis running by the site. So we're not building up a substation or pulling in a bunch of power and creating a bunch of issues on that. I know a lot of people have concerns on noise. A couple comments to make there. One is that we're not using a natural gas generator as part of the operation, and that tends to be the primary source of noise and vibration, which people have issues with. We're also designing a lot of mitigation into our building, such as acoustical foam, acoustical louvers, and we're also using low RPM fans. And then on top of that, we have automation so that when it's cooler outside or at night, we can reduce the fan speed so that it's running quieter.
So I think it's important when you talk about noise, not to kind of put everything in one bucket. People hear Bitcoin mining and they're like, oh, there's tons of noise, but ours, noise can be engineered around, and that's our goal with this. And so we think we're bringing a really good solution that's not going to create any problems for the nearby residents. In terms, I know there's also concerns around grid usage. So this facility will participate in the demand response program, which means that it's an interruptible load and we can act as a shock absorber. So if the grid's stressed, we can shut it off. And it's not like, a lot of data centers need 24/7 uptime. We don't require that for this application. So we can remain flexible with the grid. And so that's one of the benefits as well. There was a comment on the new Alberta regulations. I think you spoke about some of the levies and so forth. We are aligned with the data center strategy. Bill 12, which was created, is on a 75 megawatt threshold for introducing taxes, and we're well below that. So it's really like, our project's too small scale to really enter into the conversation. And then like I said, we're not requiring a bunch of substation and transmission upgrades, so we don't have a bunch of costs we're passing through to grid customers.
Sorry, just to interrupt real quick. I said 5 minutes at the start, but I reread the process. You have actually 20 minutes. You have about 14 minutes left, just so you know.
Sure.
That was my error.
And then just for the, in terms of the community benefits, we do prioritize local contractors for construction and ongoing maintenance. We, have an ongoing maintenance program. And then also in terms of doing vegetation management and stuff like that. So we prefer to have people locally to do that type of work, assuming they're qualified. And then, certainly it's going to increase the tax base for the county and those types of things. We are very focused on safety. We only use qualified electricians, and our equipment certified, our data processing building certified. It will be built here in Alberta, CSA certified. We have proactive maintenance and planning. So we have spot checks. We're checking for frayed cables, safety issues on site. And we will produce an emergency response plan for the development permit stage. The equipment itself also has automated shutoff. So if there's like a thermal issue, it will shut off. So it's a pretty safe operation. And as Taylor mentioned, we did notify neighbors within a mile. Today, no concerns or objections have been raised. And yeah, happy to answer any questions council might have.
Thank you for your presentation. You have a question? Go ahead, Councillor Larson.
I have several questions, actually.
Absolutely.
So you're saying that you own the land?
Yeah, we're in the process of.
You or the people that currently own it?
So yeah, we have a land deal in place to purchase it, and we will be completing that, assuming our permitting goes through.
Okay, so then you will be the owner?
It'll be an affiliated company, but yeah, we will.
So
technically,
when it comes to reclamation, and we've dealt with this time and again with oil and gas facilities where the company becomes insolvent and then it goes to what we've set up as an orphan well fund. There's none of that stuff for solar processes. So what kind of a guarantee do you have that you're going to have the financial ability to reclaim this thing when it's done in 20 or 25 years?
Yeah, I think when you think about a solar facility, the materials on site generally have enough value to cover the cost of reclamation. So you want to pull out the racking and the solar panels and get the value out. And then also, if you own the land, you don't want it sitting there if you want to resell the land, so it impacts your land value. We are happy to, and we've done this in other counties, accept a reclamation condition in the development permit, that's not an issue for us.
Yeah, if it's at end of life, I don't see that there'll be much value in the solar panels, but anyway. You're saying that you don't use any water, but from what I understand from data centers is they're fairly water intensive. The only data centers that I'm aware of that don't use water are ones that are under 15 kilowatts, and you said yours is 500. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But all of our cooling is with fans. There's no water cooling. It's just fans going.
So that's my point. I don't know of any data centers that can be air cooled that are over 15 kilowatts.
I mean, it's very common. It's like for water cooling, I mean, it's basically, it depends on the design of the data center. But I would guess that 95% of operations like ours in the province of Alberta are air cooled. And many of them would be even higher power usage.
Do you have any examples of that?
We have a project running in High River right now that's 250 kilowatts and it's air cooled,
So that's about half the size of this one.
half of the size of this one.
What's
But
it
I mean,
called?
there's one, I think there's one in Medicine Hat that's like hundreds of megawatts that's air cooled. So I mean, it's very common.
And the reason I'm asking this is water's an issue there because the village that's just east of there gets their water from wells not far from this piece of land.
Yeah.
And if you get this up and running and then all of a sudden, oh, well, now we need water to do it, you're potentially affecting a village of 150 people who are going to run out of water.
If I can say that, like, we have no intent of water cooling anything. And even if we did, it would be a closed loop system where we would not draw on the water supply. So there's going to be zero impact on the water supply there.
So do you have any guarantees of that?
Yeah, I mean, we can guarantee we don't need water service or any kind of, I don't know what else to say.
In that, the applicant mentioned a reclamation condition for the DP, and there's also something that we could put in the DP for about water.
Through the read to council, that if he drills a water well, that's an AEPA situation and it would be for commercial industrial use. And then as Mr. Bullock could confirm, he would also have to do the draw. It would occur on the aquifer for the village. So there would be more to it than just
Yeah,
drilling.
if they weren't to drill, they'd have to give notice to the surrounding, test all the wells and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay. Counselor Hebbs?
I'll echo Councillor Larson's concerns about the recycling and the reclaiming because you'll own the land, but what we found with the orphan wells is, they own the lease, which is very close to owning the land. But what they did is they walked away and then a junior guy came, you know what I'm saying? Like, so this is a hard one for me to support because while I prefer to try to not get in the way of industry and try to, broaden the usage of the land usages in the county, I'm truly concerned about the fact that 5 years from now, we've achieved Bitcoin saturation and there's no money in these things anymore. And then now you got to make it big enough to scale it up and you're still going to draw lots of power when it's cloudy and then you're going to be using, and typically that's when it's cold. And then I also concern about, brownouts in the neighborhood that are as a concern.
Yeah, I mean, I guess talking on reclamation, so when you think about what actually needs to be done to reclaim the site, it's taking off the solar panels, it's pulling out the racking, and then it's unscrewing the screw piles. So it's a fairly simple process. And then, I mean, we're not doing a lot of grading. So it's really just, dismantling the equipment that's there. And, as I said, we're welcome to accept a condition around reclamation. On power usage, I guess we understand the concerns there. We do think that there's a lot of applications in the county that are around the same amount of power usage. You have an arena, you have EV fast chargers. So we're not asking to draw a huge amount of power from the grid. That is something that's regulated by the AUC. And so, and we are bringing our own power in the spirit of Alberta data center regulation. And on top of that, participating in demand response. So we're not going to, come in and disrupt the grid. We're using a standard connection. It's not any kind of big mega project.
Councillor Clayton?
Just a few comments. I've had the opportunity to do a fair amount of talking with AI producers and researching large scale ones. This is a very small AI application based on solar power. Your cooling is all by fan, indirect. So you don't have a large power generator running a turbine, which is where the majority of the noise of AI centers comes from. I've talked to even fairly large units that do not use water, like minimal water. And even those can satisfy themselves by trucking in water if they have to. So it is possible to have very low water usage or no water usage. The neat part about Alberta is that we do end up having some cooler nights and cooler air. So that's why the cooling side of the AI has moved north versus what it has been down in Texas, where they've absolutely destroyed aquifers. I like seeing a use of a piece of land that has very little agriculture. I don't know how you turn a good cedar around in that narrow band there. So it might be a very good use for the land from my point of view on an agricultural basis, because if you can fence it and graze some sheep in there, you might be quite happy. From your presentation, other than the fact of reclamation, I don't have much objection at all. Thank you.
Councillor Bigger?
I just have a question. Does your company, what is your policy on like investing back into the community? Is there policies that you go through or that you have stated in the past with your company?
I mean, it's we prefer to, as I mentioned, kind of use local contractors, especially for stuff like, gravel work or fencing or vegetation maintenance, even electricians, if we can, find them locally to support it. So that's one piece of it. And then we typically have someone who we kind of use for ongoing oversight and maintenance, and we want that person locally. So
Yeah.
those people kind of typically tend to find us. So it tends to be a pretty good fit from that perspective. We wouldn't be it's not ideal for us to have someone drive out all the time, or because sometimes you kind of want to get someone there quickly and not spend half the day driving or whatever.
That's true.
So-
Yeah, and in fact that there's not always someone there. Sometimes some companies have done a yearly, contribution to a village or a town or to a project that is in the county, and some companies have policies on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not that sophisticated, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, we're we do prioritize it and think about it, and it's important to us too. So
It's a a nice thing for them to do it, but they don't have to do that. Like, we don't ask every applicant that. So anyone else? Councillor Kester, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I think he explained it well, and it is a irregular piece of property that, yeah, can't turn an air seeder around in it. So, yeah, it's good for me.
Just keep in mind, the landowner obviously is in a deal with these people to upgrade the land. They've looked at and evaluated that piece of land and decided that has more value doing something else. The water regulation part is regulated by Alberta government. If they drill a well, there's processes for that too. So with me, there's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of the dangers with data centers is the more information you can get quicker on your phone is almost defeats the purpose of building some of these, because the information comes up so fast and there's so many different variances. You can do a Google search in 2 seconds and find out the good, bad, and the ugly, or that could just be an automated opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, that's completely what we see. And I think that's why we try to kind of separate this from what, maybe some other experiences are. I mean, even from a climate perspective, we're running our noise study at like max, output for all the equipment. Alberta is very different from Texas, where, you gotta get the heat out really quick in the summer. And so it's, scale matters, and, the way you design things matter. So.
For sure. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. And we'll proceed on. So we'll now move to presentations of the public in support of the proposal. I have to ask these questions 3 times, so. Second time, is there anybody online or in the room that wants to do presentation of the public in support of the proposal? Third and final time, presentations by the public in support of the proposal. Okay, we're moving on. Presentations by the public in opposition to the proposal. Anyone in the room, on the phone? Second time, anyone in the room want to oppose this proposal or online? Oh, come ahead. Oh, sorry, if you have to come to the mic, Gail, and you have to introduce yourself. Yes, because we have councillors participating remotely and we record the process. We're not in a rush. Do you need help to get over? Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. So you're speaking in opposition?
Gail Cleve. I was more
Sorry, could you
concerned about
state your name and where
Oh, I
you
did.
live? Yes,
Gail Cleve.
yes.
Okay.
And where you live too, please, for the record.
I live in the county.
Blue sign address, do you have that?
Oh,
I know where you live. Some of these councillors do, some may not, so.
okay. Halfway in between Strathmore and Rocky Ford.
Okay, that works.
My concern was there's been a big thing about shutting down them because there are so much things about it. But what I was concerned about was that I didn't think that you did enough sort of advertising or saying what was going on. Because I know the last 2 weeks in the paper, there was no mention of this. It was back far enough. And I think that the town of Hazar should have had a information meeting to let them know what it is, because the big concern is their water there. And so that's why I was thinking that, because I didn't know all about what he said today. So that was quite information, but I think he needed to go out to Hazar and have a meeting with those people around there so they understand what is happening, because that's not what most of us think about those data centers.
Fair enough.
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So at the start of the meeting, I asked if it's been circulated per Municipal Government Act regulations, and administration states that. So that's our standard process for all applications. And for public engagement for any applicant, we always encourage that to go out and have open houses. They may or may not do that. But this process is also part of that, is that public hearing. It's for everybody to get more information. And I'm glad that you're attending. Welcome, sir. Please state your name and your blue sign if you can.
Elginson's my name, Range Road 203, blue sign 244070.
Thank you, sir.
Only a wheatland, new address. No, it's an interesting project. Other than an eyesore for me, I'm more concerned about fire. We're concerned about water, but it sounds like they're going to use fans. Next is the noise. And is there any kind of a radiation that comes off this thing? That's the big concern in Texas. Their chickens are only laying half the eggs. The noise, the water, like, are the one in Drumheller, is that yours? It's just a bunch of ATCO trailers sitting there, kind of an eyesore. And I'm more concerned about fire because I'm right next to it. And I also was farming the road allowance that also got seeded back to grass, which I don't understand. You got a lot of road allowances out there, and we've got a lot of people looking at this. So why was that one seeded back to grass?
Okay. I can't answer those questions at the moment. So the process is right now, you'll have some questions and then,
But is there any information on what this thing gives off in the air? The stuff that we can't see.
I
don't want to, I'm only a mile away.
I understand what you're asking, sir. So, and the process comes back after there's questions that are here, the applicants here, they have a chance to rebuttal and answer that questions. And if we can't get a satisfactory answers, administration can work on it too as well. Just so you know, we don't have all the answers at our fingertips right now, but the process is your questions are noted and then the applicants in the room to
Yeah,
answer those.
I'm not really dead against this. Like, I think it could be a good thing other than it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have it in there and then 2 or 3 years down the road, find out all this and there's garbage blowing everywhere.
Absolutely. So we have process. So you're looking at noise, radiation and fire. And I do believe some of that was in the question in the package already to be answered, but we can follow up with you here shortly. But just with this process, we're taking questions from the people in opposition. We're going to gather that and deal with it today. And then we'll
Just using up my 5 minutes.
That's fine. No problem. No problem whatsoever.
Sir, are you inside the circulation area? Or are you just outside the circulation area? You were in the county? Okay. Okay, thank you.
So for Glenn, the applicant said he lives just straight north. So third and final time, is there anybody else in the public opposition to this proposal? Okay, now we move to the rebuttal presentations by the applicant, limited only to the comments read or heard in opposition to the proposal. So what you heard today, if you have some answers to that, be great. If not, we can figure that out. Welcome back, sir. Just state your name again for the record and yeah.
Yep. Rob Johannesson on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you.
So I can talk about all of those things. The noise piece. So, I mean, we understand that's a concern and that's why, you know, we went out and did a noise study. I think when you look at the results from the noise study, the nearest resident had a noise impact of less than 20 dBA. Ambient noise in rural Alberta is like, 35 or 40. So we're like way below anything anyone's going to notice at any residence. It's all been prepared by a qualified noise professional. And like I say, we've, mitigated it a lot in our design. So we feel very comfortable with our noise impact and the proximity to residents. I mean, some people worry too about stuff like vibration and those types of things. We're not, like, as I mentioned, bringing in any kind of genset, so there won't be any kind of vibration. And then also with the acoustical lining, that takes out a lot of any kind of vibration or anything like that you might get coming off of there. So I think, noise really shouldn't be an impact on anyone, even the closest resident. In terms of there was a comment made on, you know, worries about like emissions of like electromagnetics and those types of things. We're not intentionally emitting any electromagnetics. It's not like a cell phone tower. The equipment is all properly shielded. I think where there has been issues with some of this in other facilities has either been they don't have properly shielded equipment, and that creates some kind of electromagnetic impact. But we're using all kind of shielded equipment, and it's not like a big, you know, big operation where you're going to start to get some kind of effect like that. The impact in terms of electromagnetics would be very similar to kind of any kind of industrial facility that's out there that like this building. So it's really not going to be an issue. In terms of, you know, it being an eyesore, we're not just gonna like throw out a CCAN. It's a prefabricated building that's, you know, specially designed for this. And then it'll also, you know, we're happy to kind of work with our vendor in terms of any kind of requirements the county has in terms of aesthetics of that. And then I think everyone kind of knows what solar panels look like. As Taylor mentioned, we do have that abandoned railway on the south of the property, which should provide some screening. So, so we, you know, we're hopeful it's not going to create a nuisance for anyone. And then on fire, I think, you know, we talked a little bit about that already. I think that, you know, on top of that, in terms of our emergency response plan, we would have, you know, plans in terms of what happens in case of a fire, who gets called. We would do a walkthrough with the local fire department before starting operations to make sure they're comfortable with it. They know where the power shutoff is. We're not, the facility itself doesn't use any batteries or fuels, so it's not like a highly flammable container. And so we don't have a bunch of combustible material sitting in there. And then we are monitoring it 24/7. So if an issue happens, we have sensors and we can see if the temperature is rising and we've got an issue, we can kind of remotely shut things down too. So, I mean, we got a lot of safeguards in place there, but we will provide a like full emergency response plan to the county as part of our development permit application and can provide more granular details on that. Is that any other questions or that I can answer?
You answered everything that was there for so far. Sorry, we can't debate like that here. I appreciate it. So I guess you're not generating power on site, so you're using solar panels. Can you explain why you're using solar panels? Probably cost, I would imagine, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I guess, we see an opportunity to offset the grid usage. Between my dad and myself, we have some history in terms of, you know, doing solar projects. We see kind of a nice opportunity to use it there. And so I think it's a kind of nice low impact way to offset the power usage of the facility.
Okay, thank you. So that answered all the questions that were in the discussion here. Whether or not we like the answers, the questions were answered. So we'll move on to the next part. Any final questions of administration? Mr. Felt. Anything from the discussion that council wants to ask? Go ahead.
You know, this is a smaller one, but some of the bigger ones there to address the visuals is there berming them? Is there been no discussion about putting up berms?
Through the chair to Councillor Hebbs. There is the natural railway corridor, which you could see from the Google image I have up on the screen here, provides a bit of a berm. So the proposed site plan, which I'll flip to on the screen, would be tucked right behind, or on the site plan, the data processing facility would be tucked right behind this, so providing some screening from the southern road. I will show you, this was the letter of intent, which the application, including this letter I have on the screen here, was available on the county's website. This is an example of a proposed data processing unit. Again, the final unit itself could take form of a reconstructed CCAN, as the applicant noted. However, conditions can be applied in how that CCAN actually looks. Staff and MPC at that point would be able to address any aesthetics, paneling, what have you on the outside, and as well any landscape screening at that stage.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, I feel like I've had all the answers that I had in my head, questions that I had. So I feel like anything could be mitigated, that the noise doesn't sound like it's going to be a problem. We can mitigate some visual impacts. They're not going to use water. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with the presentation. So thank you.
And this wouldn't be the first data mining that we've approved. There's one in my division that has not been built yet, but it had on-site generation with natural gas that actually had noise concerns, and it was approved. So, and it's within a mile of my residence. So, yeah, so it's interesting. These are, I think back to our vision statement or whatever, where we have innovation meets tradition. Here we are. So. Anyways, nothing further. I will look for a motion to close public hearing.
Also move.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion before I close this? Call the question.
Sorry, it says my connection was lost. I'll have to reconnect.
Okay.
If I don't get it done in time, I'm in favor, okay?
Thank you, Councillor Kester. That's carried. So we'll move back to the regular council agenda, and we have possible motions arising. We're looking for bylaw readings. Council's wishes. Go ahead.
I'll move that council moves first reading of bylaw 2026-02. This being a bylaw for the purpose of amending land use bylaw number 2016-01 to redesignate Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 14-11122 within Northeast 21-24-20 west of the 4th from Agriculture General District to Industrial General District, as shown on the attached Schedule A, forming part of this bylaw.
Thank you. Bylaws on, or sorry, motions on the floor. Council discussion. I have one question from administration. In the report, we were talking about fire services, and there was mention that it says here about the significant fire hazard, and we might exceed the capabilities. So is there any worry that we have to buy different equipment to meet the need of this, or is that even our problem? We have a certain level of fire service. Are they aware of what we currently have, and et cetera, et cetera?
Through the chair, this again would be looked at in more depth at the DP stage, whether the emergency plan is something that the county's fire services is satisfied with, and those measures would be flushed out at that stage.
So for me, the last thing I want to see is us to approve something and then a budget thing for a $3 million fire truck and the next one to meet this requirements of this. That's where I'm going. That's right. So if we can deal with that in DP, the applicants here, that's my concern. So I'm okay with that.
All right. I got a comment.
Go ahead, Councillor Kester.
I think for me, the fire is the vegetation growth. If there's nothing done with the vegetation, come fall, it's foot high, dry as tinder, and that's a fire hazard for sure. So if you could have some vegetation control, I think I heard sheet mentioned, or mow it or have it chewed down so there isn't that growth there would make a big difference for fire.
Okay. Any other discussion before I call the question?
I just have a comment
Oh, go
too.
ahead. Sorry.
I know that it was mentioned that still on the community thing. I really, coming from a division that has lots of industry, it is nice that industry and community work together. And you know, the raising money at these curling bond spills and getting draws and auctions, and it's just nice that a community can work, can have a business that works with them. And I just want to state that I know that a lot of businesses don't have to, but it's nice when they do. And that was just a comment. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other discussion? Call a question. And that's carried. Council's wishes.
I move that council move second reading of bylaw 2026-02.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I will call the question. And that's carried. I'll move that council grants permission to hold the third and final reading of bylaw 2026-02. This one has to be unanimous vote. So just for clarification for council, it does not stop this from happening. It'll just come back at the next meeting. And if there's, I don't think we can take new information, can we? It just puts it to the next meeting. So just for everybody to be aware, it's more of a delay in time for whatever reason. That's the process. If we feel that council, it's kind of weird because you can't take new information, so why do you delay it? Like you should ask your questions here. So, but it's the process. So anyways, enough discussion. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I'll call a question. And that is not unanimous. So this will be brought back at the next meeting for third and final. So that's all we can do. Okay. So that moves on past 3.1. We have a 10 o'clock appointment. Does council want to take probably a 10-minute recess because we only have access to one bathroom right at the moment and we have people in the crowd. So let's come back at 10:10, 10:15, somewhere in there. Thank you. He's there? Okay. Councillor Kester, we're going to be starting at 10:15.
I'm ready.
Thank you. So we have a 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock appointment, item 4.1. Myers Zimmerman, Wheatland County Community Enhancement Regional Board presentation.
Good morning, Council. Dave from Administration. Marcy Fields, the chairperson of the Community Enhancement Regional Board, and Maya's filling in for her because Marcy could not make it. So just introducing Maya Zimmerman for this report. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome.
Good morning, Council. My name is Maya Zimmerman, and like you mentioned, I'm here for the Community Enhancement Regional Board. So this year, the Community Enhancement Regional Board, we meet to review, evaluate, prioritize, and recommend the distribution of funding allocated within the Community Enhancement Reserve. All of the applications were put forward in January of 2026 this year. And since its inception in 2012, the program has contributed $6,350,504 towards the enhancement and betterment of Wheatland County. For our board, we convened on March 11th and 13th to review the submissions. We had 64 applications this year, representing a total funding request of $1,341,154. Of these, we recommend funding 53 applications, totaling $532,764, approximately 39.7% of our funding, or of the total requested. 11 applications are recommended for decline, and we submit the attached recommendations to Wheatland County for consideration under the 2026 Community Enhancement Board. Dave told me it's right there. So here we have all of our approved projects in the amounts there. All of our approvals are done based on our guidelines and discussion within the board. And we enjoy giving back to the community through this board. It's definitely a big positive for all of us. I think that's about it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Hi. Yeah, thank you for this. I'm just wondering if, and it's been done this way the whole time. I'm just wondering if we could put in a column that to know what the ask was, that like what was asked for the 1.3 million
Yeah, so I know that
For
we,
each individual project?
for each individual product. Yeah,
right.
Did you want that shown on this approval
I think
application?
moving forward.
Moving forward, but yeah, we
I
could
just think-
show that. I could also provide that spreadsheet with to council if they want to
Oh, sure.
do that
whatever,
as
yeah.
well. I think we did that last time, but after the fact, but we can definitely add the asks on here as well.
Yeah. Be great. Thank you.
Councillor Hebbs?
So I got two questions. The first one is there, maybe the first question would be, what is the criteria to decline one? And then the follow-up question to that would be, like, would it be area specific? Like, say, Gleason gets most of the money one year, or do you how do you weight that? Thank you.
It can be a very difficult process. We do have certain guidelines that we work on to make sure that we're looking at everything appropriately. But ultimately, there's not one thing that's going to say yay or nay. We have a large ask. Like I mentioned, it's only almost just under 40% of what was asked are we able to actually allocate. But we look at a lot of different factors, looking at operations, amount of contribution from the applicant themselves. We look at the project. We also are provided with a chart of where our funds have gone over the years to which individual communities. We also look at the amount of Wheatland County residents using those projects or operating requirements. So there's a number of different things. There's not just like one definitive, this is a yes and this is a no. It's a full group discussion pretty much on every single project.
Thank you.
Councillor Clayton?
Just for your information, this is the first time I haven't been on the curb board for 12 years. And it's been an amazing experience of dealing right across the county. These guys do a heck of a job. And this young lady and I were only on one session together, for she represents Cheadle, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I just take my hat off to that group. Thank you.
I'll just echo what Councillor Clayton said. I sat on that board from its inception until I got elected as well, and it runs amazingly well. They get, like you guys get along, you debate all of the different applications, and there's some, I'm sure it used to be heated discussions sometimes, but you all come to an agreement on what you think is right for the county. I really do commend the group. They do an amazing job. It's hard to get from $1 million down to 40% of that. So thank you so much for your work to do this.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for what you do. One question that I have, and it might answer all this, the guidelines that you operate under, is that shareable with council?
I believe it should be, Dave, your guidelines.
Yes,
Okay, because I know we're reviewing some in later on in the package.
yeah, the terms of reference and the guidelines are on the website for the.
Okay.
As well.
But I mean, maybe just circulate it with
Yeah,
council.
we
so
could definitely circulate them.
Because there's
but
some
yeah.
questions that would probably get cleared up fairly quickly. And then who sets those guidelines? Is it council or is it the group themselves?
Council does terms of reference and the group kind of goes through the guidelines. The guidelines haven't really changed. Like they review them at their very first meeting just to be refreshed on them. And if they want to change them, our council has put input on those guidelines. Like we included fire inspections, I think 2 years ago. So
okay.
Council has had input on those guidelines and had made those recommendations to the board and the board.
For sure. And in no way am I saying that it would affect what's in front of us now, but for going forward, there's some new counselors and stuff, some that have experience with it, some that don't, and a refresher memory for us because we deal with a lot of information, never hurts. So council's wishes.
I'll move that council approve the 2026 Community Enhancement Grant funding in $532,764 as recommended by the Community Enhancement Regional Board to be funded from the Community Enhancement Reserve.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. And that's carried. Move on to what time is it? 10:30. The consent agenda. So we have a number of items in here, 5.1 to 5.10. Anybody want to pull anything for discussion? There's two options. So you can do business arising. So we have a council report discussion. So if you want to talk about your council report, that comes after. And if there's anything about the department, operational departments, management here, we have that opportunity as well. So, and I got three options.
I have a recommendation to remove two things from the consent agenda and put it under business arising.
Okay.
That being 5.7, Town of Strathmore correspondence regarding letter of support for diagnostic imagery, and 5.9, the Legion branch number 10, Strathmore correspondence regarding National Legion Week proclamation.
And I'd like to pull out 5.6 as well. Anyone else?
So I'll make a motion then to remove consent agenda items 5.6, 5.7, and 5.9 and add them under
Just 6.
6.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll just deal with it right away. Yeah. It's just the way it works. It's kind of clunky, but yeah. All right. Motion's on the floor to pull three items, 5.6, 5.7, 5.9. Any discussion? I will call the question. That's carried. So moving forward, I guess I'll, 5.6 letter, it's on page.
Just, I guess we should approve the rest of the
Oh, yes.
consent
Thank you for
agenda.
catching me on that. So motion to accept the rest as information.
I would like to make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Clayton. I will call the question. That's carried. So in the council package, I'm looking at page. Can I see it? Oh, here, down the bottom, page 1. So this is stating that there was an interim chief or interim chief administrative officer effective April 20th. So I'm just wondering, trying to word this question correctly. Was there a group of individuals that were asked, or was this just trying to figure out how the board came to the conclusion of hiring Mr. Legore? And the reason I ask is because there's a lot of history there. Almost conflicts of interest, I would perceive. He used to be the CAO of town of Strathmore. He's been in other things. So when you're dealing with something as controversial as this, I just wonder how it came to be. Nobody from the board wants to answer? Okay, then. Move on to 5.7.
I'll move that we accept 5.6 as information.
It's not necessary, Councillor Kester, but thank you for that.
Why? We moved the rest of the consent agenda's information. We pulled out 3 that haven't been moved for information. There was no other action taken on it.
My thinking was I would wait till all of them were done and see what the discussion came, if anything came out of it. But if we want to do it separately, we can. Yeah, okay, fine. Your motion is accepted and is on the floor. Any discussion?
I mean, an interim CAO is always, we've had some very good success with that. But I also wonder a little bit about just appointing one. I don't, it's a little bit of an influx issue. I understand he's a highly respected senior leader, and I respect that. I've never met the man. I just, I do wonder, I would like to hear some board thoughts on why they just, did they approach him? Did he approach, did the board, it just seemed like a little bit of a, anyhow, my thoughts. Thanks.
Motion on the floor to accept his information.
I'll just say that the board approached him. It's a timing issue. You don't have a CIO. You don't have time for a 3-month process to advertise everything else. So yeah, board approached him.
Thank you, Councillor Kester. Motion on the floor to accept his information. I'll call the question. Still voting. That's carried. 5.7.
So this was a request from the town of Strathmore. They want to submit a letter of support, and rather than having it just come from them, I think they're looking for all of their surrounding neighbors, including us, to join in the support. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I just I had been talking to somebody associated with the Drumheller Health Foundation, and I know that so she looked into whether Drumheller has a CT scanner, and they do. It is underutilized because they don't have the staffing to keep it going on a full-time basis. So I hope that Strathmore is looking into requesting staffing along with it. And I don't know whether that is an easy thing to ask from our province at this time. You know, I don't see any downside in us adding our names to the letter of support. Just to say that if it were up to me, I think I would have asked for an MRI machine or something different that's not in the region, but this is their project. They've been looking for it. I think we should decide whether we want to put our names to a letter of support or not.
Thank you for bringing that up. I had some similar concerns about that, but I just listened to council discussion first before I say anything. Anyone else? Councillor Hepps?
You know, any more services that we can support probably have value, but I do worry a little bit that we're getting over into, you know, Alberta Health Services stuff, you know, into their lane. And it's those things so often, you know, as some of the challenges / opportunities facing Drumheller is truly keeping it's easy to buy it. It's another thing to run it, right? Like, and so, you know, I want to support it, but I have reservations.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Clayton?
I got a couple comments.
Councillor Clayton first can go, and then yourself, Councillor Kester.
I hear what you're saying relative to the Drumheller unit, but the Strathmore is getting not just Strathmore, but you're looking at Chestermere on this side, on this east side of Calgary is getting to be populated like crazy, and trying to get diagnostics for a very fast growing population is, I think, very worthwhile to support. I hear what you're talking about on Drumheller, but that's a long ways away for an awful lot of people out of Strathmore too.
Thank you. Councillor Kester.
Yeah. They're not asking for us to buy a CT scan. They're asking us to support it. And secondly, we have a lot of citizens that take taxis and handy bus, go to Calgary to take a CT scan. There's a lot of people going. And if they can have it at home, especially for a lot of the seniors that have difficulty getting to Calgary, the mobility issues, it's a huge benefit. And it's also a benefit in attracting young qualified doctors, even older experienced doctors. They can have the benefit of a CT scanner in town. That makes a big difference, maybe if they'll move here or not. So it's something that we need, and it's something that greatly benefits the region. And it's getting to be a pretty big region.
Thank you. There was, just for me, I had sat down with Mayor Fuel about a month ago, talked about this very thing, and I said, well, I'd have to go back and find out what is available in the region. Similar to Councillor Laprise, found out that Drumheller has one that's underutilized, and it's really, I mean, when I look at a lot of the where the northeast part of our county could easily go to Drumheller. And if I had to go to Drumheller to get one quickly, I would. But if it's not staffed and up and operational, that's something that I think we should almost send a separate letter ourselves from the county asking that to increase the utilization of the one in Drumheller. That's kind of where I'm going. And as well as this one, I have no problem supporting this, but there was an ask, or there was an assumption that the county would be putting financial in if needed. And I talked to Mayor Fuel and I said, that is not something that I'm prepared to do at this time. I said, council would have to have a specific request for that and decide on that, just so council's aware. That's where that conversation went. That could have changed by now, but right now there is nothing in the letter saying anything like that. So.
So a couple thoughts. Where the CT scanner is located I don't know if that would really affect the doctor much. I mean, do you send those things online, right? Like, I mean, you don't carry them back and forth. So whether they're coming from a diagnostic lab in Edmonton or right beside you, they're still going to be transmitted electronically, would be my thought on that. And I understand and agree that, Chestermere and the like is getting busy, but I would say that, for the Wheatland County ratepayer, our county population isn't growing significantly, right? So maybe, I don't know what the rate of growth, it's certainly faster west of us for sure.
Thank you. We are increasing population here, not as much as the bigger urban centers, but people are utilizing the healthcare system in the area. Out of Calgary, I mean, you go to Strathmore and there's lots of people that come out. There's lots of people that go to Drumheller because it's too busy out there too. This is one of the things that, I mean, we can say a letter, but it's really the purview of the provincial government and the health department to figure out what they're going to do. Councillor Clayton.
Maybe one of the things to, if I'm in support of this type of thing, there's no question about that. But one of the things that will maybe force the Alberta Health to take a look at the location of where a CT scan is. And if it's underutilized in one location because of the location, maybe they move it to a different location that it gets more utilization. But anyway, that's their decision.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council's wishes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that council approve. Oh, you got something. Thank you.
Right in front of you.
Council approves participating in the communication to Minister Jones that support requesting diagnostic imaging services to be offered at Strathmore Hospital.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? For me, I'd like to, maybe we should reach out to the people in Drumheller. I don't want to just presume that we should send a letter. We should talk to maybe our contacts and say, do you want a letter from us at the future? And they could present something to us to see if that's what they want. And we could deal with that part in the future. So I'll support this motion right at this time. Anyone else? I will call the question. That's carried. 5.9.
So I also thought this was another initiative that we could gladly support. We have an excellent relationship with the Strathmore Legion. I think it's the least we could do to mark National Legion Week, September 21st to the 27th with a proclamation. So I'll move that council declare September 21st to the 27th, 2026 as National Legion Week.
Thank you. And thank you for pulling this. Just a question, administration. If we had accepted all of the correspondence as information, would that have actioned these items?
Through the Reeve to council, no, as
Okay.
it was pulled. And so the rest of the consent agenda and what you did was make a motion to remove these items from the consent agenda. So, and then depending on what you were going to consider, like, for example, to participate in the letter to the Minister Jones and then so forth with proclaiming this National Legion Week.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify for everyone, just so we're clear as what's going on, but. Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm not only thinking that way. All right, there's motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I will call the question. Sorry, did I miss? That's carried. So we'll move on to item 7, council report discussion. Is there anything in the council reports anybody wants to discuss? I'll go Councillor Clayton and then Councillor Heps and then Councillor Priest. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, in my, I had a Marigold Library in-person meeting with the whole group, and what a huge organization. You've got the package from in here from what they sent out. The thing that we discussed also at that meeting was the legislation in Alberta that limits where 16-year-old kids can get certain information. And the feeling around the board was that bill puts the librarians in a lot more difficulty, and they normally do that anyway, not have it out in front. But there will be a letter, I think, coming to council later on asking for us to support the librarians, not the provincial government, with that legislation. So just a heads up.
Thank you. Councillor Hebbs.
My monthly report, April 7th, just a normal council meeting. April 8th was an Ag Service Board meeting. Talked about, how successful the grain bag recycling project had been working, and just some idle chatter about whether we should try to do cost recovery. Kind of think we look at that next year potentially. April 8th, we had the Calgary Motocross open house in Gleason. Maybe a mixed review there. April 14th was the MPC. April 15th was the seed cleaning plant board meeting. I say it every time I discuss going to one of their meetings, but that's really just a very good little business that's serving our farmers very well. They're running at very full capacity. They're one of, I think they said they're the top producing seed cleaning plant, but they're right near the top at any rate. Just a very good addition to our community. April 21st, council meeting. April 21st, we had the Rosebud infrastructure meeting. That did turn into a lively interaction on Wademza. I guess when we're in a position of leadership and we make a decision to go forward with something, we should probably all support that. It's as much as anything, it just shows unity to everyone involved. April 29th, I attended the RMA video conference, Bill 28. That's going to have some effect there. Some of the highlights are they're discussing taking away the permitting for aggregate pits away from local jurisdiction, which, if you're the guy selling it and your neighbor don't want it, it's a good thing. If you, there's pluses and minuses there. I echo RMA's concern that when you take away, some of the local jurisdiction and some of the local input, and, you can say whatever you want about, a drone fly over this or that, but Joe, the farmer, knows that area, and he knows when she gets soft in the summer and some of those things. So, Bill 28, some of the stuff that, they're discussing also is some of and we also heard that at RMA in Canmore just the spring at the Division 2 session, where some of these smaller communities are truly having a financial time. There's, a tough time. There is lots of these smaller communities getting absorbed by the county. And it was interesting that in the minister's letter, he said that votes wouldn't necessarily be binding on the minister. I thought that was interesting. Thanks.
Thanks. Just to follow up to your report there, I just want to remind council that when we have a controversial vote, whatever it is, when it gets voted, that is the decision of council. You respect that and you support that. There was some social media things that came out and incited people to go to a meeting that was not intended to be a open house. It was an infrastructure meeting, and the discussion was over, and that actually came from this very building at our lunch break. That is a code of conduct issue. And when the code of conduct comes, if that happens again, I will be following up on it. Right at this moment, there is no code of conduct, but that behavior is unacceptable. We need to have a higher standard and support each other. Whether you win, lose, or draw, when it's forward, I am the spokesperson for this. I will speak for it. I've been talked to by the media about certain things and asked to do interviews. That's my role. But in no way, shape, or form do I incite something after the vote has been taken. I just want to be very clear about that. Councillor Priest.
I had a question to administration. So just curious about that open house. I didn't attend. First of all, I do think we should rename it, not call it an open house, because it does sound like the open houses that we have. I think we should advertise it as information sessions or something like that. I don't know. I thought I saw it advertised as an open house.
Through the Reeve Council, typically an open house is just that for administration too, and it was specified in the ad, specifically the topics that would be addressed, that it was for capital projects. And so whether you call it open house information session, it would be the same when we struggle with calling the council meetings, coffees, chats, or town meetings. So we specify within the ad what the topics will be discussed.
And so were there people there for that reason? Did you get information out about the capital projects that we're doing? I was just worried that the meeting got sidetracked and we didn't end up with the messaging that we wanted.
Yeah, through the Reeve, I can answer that. Yeah, there were quite a number of people from the community in the area that attended for the purpose of the information that to be shared for the capital projects. I was aware that there were some other people there for another purpose, and I didn't find that. I think given the format of the meeting, it wasn't really conducive to being able to distract from the purpose of the meeting.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad that.
Yeah.
I got a
Councillor
comment.
Okay, Councillor Clayton, then Councillor Hebbs, then Councillor Kester.
I had the opportunity to go to Rosebud, and I'm glad I did. It was, for me, a chance to meet a lot of people I knew over there. And most of the people I met there were there for the purpose that the meeting was open for the presentation of what was going to be happening in Rosebud. And they're very appreciative of what is happening from what I got out of it. The I can't say neat part. The part I did appreciate was listening to some of the fire department people that were there wanting to chew on my ear. And I was able to hear where some of their concerns were coming from. And it caused a short evening of sleep. So I had an opportunity to talk with our CO the next day to get some of it off my head. So I think there's things happening in that area that need to be addressed. But I did appreciate getting to Rosebud and hearing stuff. Thank you.
Councillor Hebbs.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I went for two purposes. I went for the purpose of, of seeing what the format would be for the information that staff was passing back to the residents. And I like what I'm doing. So I like people and I like trying to help them. And so I went there to hear their concerns because I saw, the loud Facebook posts that were going on. So, people were invited to come and voice their displeasure, almost to the point of, inciting, I'd say the word inciting some real concerns. So I went there to go hear and listen, and I talked to people for a long time and then tried to explain why some of the decisions we make are made. I guess in some ways it's unfortunate that, RFPs need to be a little bit confidential due to pricing and stuff, but I could reiterate that the direction we took is truly safety oriented, and I believe that. And so I'm glad I went, but I think that if we have something like that in the future, we, instead of bringing it to an infrastructure thing, let's just say, let's go to Rosebud and get it off our chest, not mess it up with social media and make it to where people are incited.
Thanks. Councillor Kester.
Yeah, I went to Rosebud, and I would like to thank staff. They handled it very well. I went through the presentation. I took a couple ratepayers through the presentation, probably didn't do as good as staff, but people were interested in it and they went through it. What they spoke about at coffee after, that was what they spoke about, and they were interested in it. So I think in the future, when we have big decisions like that affect people's lives, we have to do a better job of getting that information out, and even to get it out before we vote on it, just so they have time to comment to their individual councillors or come to council. That's a huge impact to them. And I think it's probably a bigger impact on the east side of the county than it is on the west side of the county. So, yeah, you can't really blame anybody for putting information out. It's information, and people have a right to hear it.
Thank you. Question to CAO. I know, can you share some of the discussions you had prior to that meeting for the fire dispatch with the rural fire department? Not the boards that run them. They've been included in these discussions as the possibility of change is what I'm looking at.
They were first made aware on February 3rd, and then they've had conversations when they're at the monthly chiefs meetings. They have monthly meetings and they have an opportunity to ask questions. And then we had a meeting with them prior to that vote about the council making the decision. But again, it was council's decision. So the Thursday prior to the Tuesday meeting, the presidents of the fire associations were present along with the fire chiefs meeting to discuss the upcoming council report. But we had two scenarios of if council approved and if council didn't, to stay with it, that we didn't know because it was still ultimately council's decision.
So the rural fire associations were well informed prior to the.
That's correct.
The association, not the fire department's members themselves.
That's correct.
Association, but the ones that operate and govern their own. Thank you for that. So we did not ignore them. They were discussed. Whether it got down through their chain of command down to the rural guy on the end of the hose, that's not up to us. They have an association and a process that was well respected and informed. With that, go ahead.
So I just wanted to.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Deputy Regional Priest, and then Councillor Kester.
So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things from my report. I just want to be really upfront. RASB Summer Tour meeting on April 14th. We have very low registration numbers. The deadline is May 15th. So we are hoping that everybody is going to register at the last minute, as people do. We have a meeting on Monday, so we will find out where our numbers are, but we have discussed some contingency planning if we don't get our break-even number of registrants. So just to let everybody know, that's kind of where that's at. I met with our administration and Gleason RCMP just to discuss issues in that detachment area. They don't generally come to report to us, but they did express some willingness and interest to do so. Of course, they don't have a lot of calls from Wheatland County overall. They have, of course, Main Street is an issue in Gleason. They have been doing a lot of different things to try. It's the top of their mind as well. I mean, they know that it's an issue, obviously. It's been an issue for 30 years or whatever. And but they are trying some new things, and I'm appreciative for them for that. But besides that, they don't hear a lot from Wheatland County residents. So I guess that's a good news. But they, I think they will come to report to us at some point, maybe just annually, because honestly, there aren't enough calls to really report as Strathmore does for us. Other than that, I also attended the FCSS Calgary Bow Regional Conference was in Rocky View County in the Springbank area. Beautiful arts area. It's an outdoor park kind of an area with sculptures, and there's a resident artist who lives on site. It's kind of a really cool location. But anyways, I would like to ask council to pay a per diem and mileage for that. I didn't ask ahead of time, but I did attend with our CAO for WFCSS, and it was very worthwhile. The best part of it is always doing roundtable discussions about all the FCSSs in this region, and just finding out what kinds of calls they're getting from the public, what kinds of services people most need, how they're trying to accommodate them, and all of those things. So it's very worthwhile to attend. And so I would just like to move for council to approve per diem and mileage to attend the FCSS Calgary Bow Conference on April 23rd.
Thank you. Just a question, administration, is not necessary. She's a board member and this was a.
I think it's not
conference?
their annual conference. Their annual conference is in November. I think I would not need approval for that, but because this is a regional conference, it's
Okay, fair enough.
different. That's how I read the policy.
Okay. Motions on the floor to ratify per diems and mileage for a conference for Deputy Regional Police, April 23, 2026. Any discussion? I'll call the question. That's carried. One more thing.
One more thing, sorry, I also, I forgot to put it on my timesheet, but I did attend the webinar for Bill 28 with RMA. So that was very informative, and it was a good thing to get a good understanding of.
Do we need a motion for that?
No,
I didn't put it on my timesheet either.
no, I just wanted people to know that I
Okay,
did do
yeah.
it.
Fair enough. Councillor Kester.
Yeah, I'm my comments before about information, I was in no way criticizing staff and talking to the associations. What my meaning was is the general public, the ratepayers. I think we have to do a better job of informing them of bigger decisions that come their way. If it wasn't for Facebook, they wouldn't know. Like just the ones that associate with the fire chief and the fire departments, but the general public, we have to do a better job of informing them. That's where I was going with my comments.
Thank you.
No, through the Reeved Council, we'll take that under advisement. We are working to improve our level of communication, so we're still working on it to improve every day.
Thank you.
Is there any department report discussion? We have an 11 o'clock appointment. Is there anything from the reports? Go ahead.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, administration just wanted to pull out the community and development services section. It's on page 88.
Thank you. Page 88.
I'll just Sorry. So Joel from administration, just wanted to quickly just give an update on one of our major projects, the AFRIX radio project. So just as a refresher, that's the Alberta First Responders Radio Communication System. So this was a larger project that it was approved, I believe it was around summer last year. And you can see in our package, the total budget was $920,000. We came under budget at $826,000, so it's some good news there. The project ran from that summer period over until we went live at February 25th, so just recently. And during that process, there's been a lot of multiple training sessions with the fire volunteers to make sure that they're good with the use of the new radio systems. We've done some work in some of the Rosebud and Dalem areas that have maybe not quite good reception. So just had some contingency plans around that. We continue to follow up on those as they come along, but overall the project's complete and things are going smoothly. So we just wanted to update council on that.
Thank you. It's I noticed that in the package that it was under budget, and I know there was a lot of things that unknowns, and we rolled out and we did some things fairly quickly to provide a better service. Different chargers, things like that, and different needs. And there was a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes that council may or may not have been aware of, but they were always striving to provide the best service to the area. Be interesting to know, and I don't know if there's a way in the future to know what coverage has increased. If there's a way to look at that post to the new system and with these new repeater towers, you know, like a map or something showing that we've got better. So go ahead.
Through the chair, we can provide that. AFRAX has a map. There are some areas that, of course, AFRAX doesn't penetrate, but we've provided some hardware to help with that scenario, as well as the teams are going to be working with the AFRAX folks to see what we can do to increase services where we do find that is lacking as well. So, but we can look to provide something like that.
Thanks. And if there's something in the next round of budgets that we need to do, or, you know, nice to have or like to have or need to have, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, we do have some stuff that we may bring back to council in the future to help improve a couple of things.
Fair enough.
I got a couple comments on the AFRAC, if that's okay.
Councillor Hebbs first, and then you, Councillor Kester, please. Thank you.
So I also noticed that when I read the package, and says 826,000 on the project to date. Is how close to finished is the project?
So at this point, the project is effectively completed. There was some contingency value in there just for those spotty areas, just in case. And so, like Mr. Adamson had mentioned, there's ongoing just review of the overall service levels at this point, just to determine if there's any additional pieces of hardware and whatnot that we can go forward on improving things. And those will be at a future point. We'll just keep an eye on it from administration's standpoint.
So just a follow up. So because I know that was kind of a hurried thing because, you know, it's mandated for March of 2027, which isn't very far away now. Would we ordinarily have like an 11-12% buffer built into that thing? Because I think 826 as a percentage and 920 is about 11.5%, or that's Strathmore math.
Just staying around.
Sorry, through the Reeve. So we could provide some more comprehensive line by line details on the budget. There was a little bit more of contingency built in just because of some of the unknowns in terms of some of those, again, those spotty areas and what kind of additional pieces of mobile equipment and whatnot might be required to make that work.
And for Councillor Hebbs to know, that was brought forward to previous council and approved, and a lengthy discussion was about that. And it's because it was an unknown, and council chose, there were several different ways to roll that forward, and we chose to go with just get it done. So
I would just like to comment, like, it seems like, you know, and I was aware of the a little bit of the charger issue, and I know how hard we worked to solve that as quickly as we possibly could. I was in discussion with our CAO quite a bit on that, and it's appreciated. I just think that the whole staff and everyone involved in that deserves a thank you, right? Because I mean, it was a big project, a big undertaking, and it's close to complete and working very well. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Councillor Kester.
Yeah, I've had some comments, especially over in the Rosebud, Dallam, Rocky Ford area about these radios. We can program them radios to however we want them programmed. I'm talking more of the scanner buttons. Or how do you get them programmed?
There was training involved, wasn't there? Yeah. Go ahead.
Through the Reeve, yeah, there was training involved. To get them programmed, we do have a vendor that we work with to help program. The programming that's been put on the radios it's a standard one that's across the board throughout the entire county, and with any inter-municipal operations there, as well as or a collaboration as well as with Strathmore. So there was a lot of work that was involved in doing that as well. But if any changes need to happen, I think the team is having an ear to the ground to see if they do need to make any adjustments. But we probably want to keep a standard for that going forward. And then we're also again working on with the teams just to understand what we would need to do in the future, just to help boost any services where there is still lack of, in those areas. For instance, in valleys, just all radio systems will have challenges in there, but we're going to see what we can do. They do have mobile repeaters, which do help with that. And they did have them prior, so we reinstalled them in the areas that they needed them. So
I know over in the East Country, a lot of the firefighters are members of both Drumheller, Dallam, and Rosebud. So if they want to know where they're going, they get toned out and they'll leave from their house and go either to the site where the fire is, or they'll go to the fire hall, but they have to carry 2 radios so they stay connected to the fire hall. They can be able to scan the different fire halls from the one radio. It would eliminate having to have 2 radios. I think we need to talk to some of those firefighters over there and help them get them radios set up that are good for them, not what's standard for the county, but they go to both fire halls. And Dallam Fire Hall is the one that covers a lot of the number 1 a lot of the times. They put a lot of miles on, and these people live where the roads don't go through all the time either. So if the call is someplace else, they'll go to the call. They could talk to the fire hall, and they can bring their rig with them, their equipment, and change on site. Firefighters over there are dedicated. They show up. They show up at all hours of the night, and there's a good number of them. And I think if we can facilitate these radios and help them out, they're capable. Radios, I understand, are capable of being programmed like that. I think we should be able to program them for them and not worry about standard what's in the county, because they're not in a standard place in the county. Okay, if that makes any sense. If you need to talk to me after, I'm more than happy to do that. Thanks.
Just one quick question with the training that was provided on the radios. Did everybody partake of that training, or is there still some stragglers out there?
Through the chair, I believe the last note that I have is I think most did, but we can get back to you on that exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
It sounds like the system works the way you've talked, Councillor Kester. It's just basically a knowledge update and things like that. We can get that facilitated. Anything else? Do we have to accept the rest of the reports as information? Just ask.
Just on a whole other
Tangent. Okay.
issue, matter or whatever. I was just wanting to ask administration. On our resolution tracker, there's for Drumheller Health Foundation, Grow Your Own Nursing Program. I think that's coming back to council, but I just wanted to know if it's coming back soon, because I've been talking to a representative there, and you have good things to report on that program.
Yes, through the reeve. So just to confirm, we will be bringing it back at the next council meeting for approval. Just for some context, initially it was approved by council to put as a placeholder in the budget with the opportunity for council to have a final debate. So administration will bring it back for the next meeting.
Appreciate that. I'd been told that they have received already 48 applications for the program. 28 were from the target area that they're looking for. And so they have identified 8 or 9 letters of acceptance to go out, and they're set to start this fall. So apparently they have raised $200,000 towards the program. They need about $75,000 more. I know we had talked about doing 10,000. So I'd really like to get that. So I'm glad to hear that it's coming up shortly here that we can get that money to them, since we had already kind of, approved it in principle. So it's good to just finalize that. I just also wanted to send kudos to in the transportation and agriculture report, seasonal spring cleanups in the hamlets. I had from one resident just indicating that they did a great job, like doing details like cleaning in between the sidewalk and the roadway so that weeds don't grow in the dirt that collects there. And I have some very particular residents in Clooney in particular, and so they really do appreciate that. And so I just wanted to pass that along.
Thank you. Question administration, do we have to approve the reports as information? It's kind of, okay, perfect. So we have an 11 o'clock appointment that we're behind a little bit. So I will move us into closed session, disclosure harmful to economic and other persons, other interest of a public body, reason West Highway 1 industrial area servicing. Motions on the floor. I'll call the question. And we will be going into the committee room, and Councillor Kester will have a different number, I believe, to call. We'll ensure that he gets in on that.
Just text it to me.
Okay. Taylor has your information. Did I miss the question? Did anybody answer? Oh, there. Oh. Okay. Voting. That's carried. We'll move into the committee room and resume here probably within about 5 minutes. Thank you. Sir, can you hear me? We came out at 12:02, by the way. Okay. Councillor Kester, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Perfect. Motion arising from in camera. Councillor Clayton.
I move that council direct administration to proceed with advancing the connection to East Calgary Regional Water Line as the water servicing solution to the West Highway 1 industrial area.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? I'll just say that it's nice to be able to utilize a regional system that's put into the region from Calgary to Strathmore. It's been kind of underutilized. I believe there was some allocation for this in the future. For the future, this is actually going to be utilized. We'll be able to work with the partners of with Strathmore, City of Calgary, to provide a development in the area that will pay out benefits for everybody. So I'm happy to support that. Anyone else? I'll call a question. And that's carried. We will break for lunch and return at 12:45 if that works for everybody. Perfect. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We'll continue the council meeting. We have, we're on to item 9.1, I believe, new business. Review of Community Enhancement Regional Board Terms of Reference. And are we waiting for Dave for this? Or we can move on to something else? Or those are all Dave's? We could do the offsite very Levitt. You want to do that? Or we good to do that one? Okay. Okay. Nine point three for sure. Yeah, go ahead. I'm flexible. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council. Joel here from administration for just present the appointment of Director of Emergency Management. This is on page 215 of your agenda. I'll just go down to there. So just in brief, this is just to ask Council to appoint, we've filled the position for the Fire Chief and Manager of Emergency Services just recently, and it's just appoint them as the new DEM, or Director of Emergency Management. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Council's wishes. Go ahead.
I'll move that council appoints the fire chief and manager of emergency services as director of emergency management for Wheatland County.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I'll call. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Might sound crazy, but who is it?
Who did we appoint as the fire chief?
To the Reeve, it's Mr. Thomas Jukes.
Thank you.
Gentleman.
Do it by position,
No,
though.
under contract. Has been hired, yes. Perfect. Questions on the floor? I'll call the question. That's carried. Back to 9.1, 2026 review of Community Enhancement Regional Board Terms of Reference. Mr. Rhymes.
Good afternoon, Council. Dave from administration. On page 204 of your agenda package is a report. Council takes a yearly review of the terms of reference of the Community Enhancement Regional Board. And this year we have a minor edit to improve the flexibility in situations where there's electoral divisions that do not have volunteers to serve on the board. Council still does the appointments in the October organizational meeting, but this just allows more flexibility if there isn't a volunteer from a specific division, that if there's a volunteer that's willing to serve from another division, the council would have that ability to appoint that volunteer. It would just save having a vacant position, which we've had in the past on when we haven't been able to fill that in a electoral division, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Clayton.
Why do we need to do that?
It's just to allow a little bit of flexibility if there isn't a board member from that division or a volunteer from that division. If there's a volunteer from another division, the council could have that flexibility to appoint that other volunteer.
Well, there's two volunteers from every division. So you're saying that they wouldn't be able to even fill any of the positions on that division? That's when this would come in?
No, it was just in the case of we didn't have two from each division. If there was still a volunteer from another division, council had the flexibility to approve that appointment if they wanted to.
In the past, we've had troubles getting some appointments.
Yeah, I've been on the board long enough to know what you're saying. And this is my personal opinion, so take it for what you want. But the board works very well when it's got representatives from every division. And loading up one division with another doesn't, in my opinion, enhance the board from being able to conduct business. What you want is to have input from each locale within the county to be able to present what's best for their area so that when the discussion is had, you can allocate the funds according to where it should go. And having it overloaded on any one particular area, I don't think would enhance anything. If there was a problem that there was no representative, then maybe you could say so. But here again, you've got very good people on the board that can still make good decisions. Just my opinion.
Good discussion. Councillor Hebbs.
So my question to staff is, what would be wrong, like if you had only one person from that division or potentially zero? Like, I get the other side of the coin. You're trying to say we have a volunteer from a different division. So, and the guy or the lady wants to put some time in, it would be nice to accept their volunteerism. But my personal preference is I'd just as soon go with one person, or maybe even, I don't know. Has there been a point where there was zero?
Through the chair, there's not been a point there's been zero. There's been one less from a division.
So keep in mind, we appoint this at council too. So if there's, the last thing that I think that staff wants to see is that not be the case, but this gives a tool for them to present to us that this person wouldn't be, we could still not accept that at that time and say, look, go back and try to find somebody. So but it just gives them the opportunity to present somebody to keep the process along. Does that make sense?
What is the term limit?
It's 2 years. The term limit's 2 years, and half the board comes up, so it rotates through. So
they're compensated as well for their time, or is it completely volunteer?
No, they get a per diem for the meetings.
If they accept it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is a funny one. I understand the desire to have all positions filled. But on the other hand, I don't know that it makes a difference if you have only one for a division versus two, or having somebody from another division coming over to sit on. Yeah, I'm not sure we need to do it. Not sure.
You between the two of you, you've spent a lot of time on that board, so I'm trusting.
And there have been vacancies off and on that I didn't feel was a critical, the work still gets done. You have a representative for that area. I think it's crazy that people aren't sitting on it from a certain area, because it's a lot of money going towards their facilities. And so, I think that people should sit on it and be wanting to sit on it, that's for sure. But I'm not sure we need to, I don't know.
So does this decision have to be made today, Mr. Rhymes, or could you come back with it just the way, do we have to review the terms of reference now? And if we don't do anything, it just goes back to the way it was?
That's correct.
Okay, so if we don't do anything, it goes back to the way it was. And I would think if staff is having trouble with people wanting to populate that board, they could reach out to us as counselors of the area, and we could go around and tap somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, do you want to go do that? There's lots of people that may not know. It's only 2 meetings a year, if I've seen. So it's
some time spent going.
Some time spent reading, but there's a big reward for your area as well. So is it going to be any trouble if we don't do anything with this, Mr. Rams?
To the chair, it's totally up to council. It was just allowed some flexibility if they chose to do that. If not, if the terms of reference is defined the way it is, that's fine as well.
Is there a vacancy now?
No, there's not a vacancy now.
Okay.
I'm just curious on how much do the public know? Like, we have there's quite a few new people coming into the county. Are we maybe could put something together saying what it's about and just what the curb, how it works and the benefits it's done. Just like even something like what Mrs. Field, even with her letter, saying how much they have put for how many years, and just a little bit more marketing, just to let people know.
It'll be a good opportunity. When we do the check presentations, we could do a press release along with that goes out to the media, and they could, with that canned, here's what it's done. We're always looking for volunteers. Here's what's expected of your time, et cetera, et cetera.
And I would like to ask administration to let us know if there are vacancies that are you having troubles filling, because I do think that we might have be able to tap people on the shoulder, as Reeve Clausen has indicated, I think.
So I'm kind of hearing that we're going to do nothing here. I'm not seeing any motions coming forward. Thank you for the effort. So we'll do nothing. Go ahead.
And so I've had someone approach me saying that they want to be on that board, but they don't know the terms. If you, whenever you're doing your presentation, marketing, whenever, that every division has an odd person every 2 years, it's staggered. To say when it is vacant, or when to put an application in, because this person doesn't know when to, and I don't either, actually.
Go ahead, CAO Bars.
Yeah. Could we please just get a motion to accept the report as for information?
Absolutely.
I'll move that.
Motion on the floor from Councillor Clayton to accept his information. I'll call the question. Great discussion. That's carried. 9.2, 2026 East Strathmore Solar Project Community Benefit Fund allocations.
Good afternoon, Council. Dave from administration again. Of the 2026 East Strathmore Solar Project Community Benefit Funding allocations, Elementary Energy and Wheatland County entered a community benefits agreement for the East Strathmore Solar Project, which provides $20,000 annually to school programs and community groups, community nonprofit groups. This funding is evenly distributed between fixed and open allocations, with $10,000 dedicated to each stream. Elementary Energy has sold the East Strathmore Solar Project to OEC Renewables, and representatives from OEC Renewables went through the applications for the open allocations. So there's two motions, one for the fixed allocations for WFCSS and the Carsland School and the Wheatland School, 2,000 for each of those. And the open allocation recommendations are on table 2. And table 1 provides all the open allocation requests, just for council's reference as well, and available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Council's wishes? Councillor Hibbs.
I'll move that council approves the 2026 East Strathmore Solar Project Community Benefit Fixed Allocations as listed. And I can do the next one?
No, we'll do one at a time. Okay. Motions before us. Any discussion on the motion? I will call the question. That's carried. Go to the next one. Okay, Councillor Hibbs.
I'll move that council approve the 2026 East Strathmore Solar Project Community Benefit Open Allocation Funding in the total amount of $10,000 as outlined in table 2.
Thank you very much for the motion. Discussion. I'll call the question. And that's carried. Just for a question to administration on these, is there a way to subtly ask developers? We had a discussion earlier today about some things to encourage them to fund community. Is that part of like, how do you delicately do that?
When we are at the application through the Reef Council, through the application process, we always approach them and ask them to consider it, especially these type of projects. So when it gets down to the development permit stage, we'll be having conversations
Okay,
for their interest and give them examples.
fair
Is
enough.
what we typically do.
So that happens behind the scenes regardless. So-
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Item 9.4. Offsite levy variance request. I think this is the first time I've ever seen one of these.
Afternoon, council.
Before you start, if it got turned down, are they able to appeal this at all? Ring?
The item I'm about to do? No.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, good afternoon. Stefan from administration. So the item you see before you, yes, is kind of an interesting one. It's a request from an applicant for a development permit application. They are asking for council to waive the Wheatland County West Highway 1 Area Structure Plan offsite levy. The development authority for DP applications is the Municipal Planning Commission. They do not have the authority to waive the levy, but council does. So I'll provide you some information on the application, the request, and then our recommendation, and then it'll be up to council to decide. I'll just pull up a map here of their proposal. So the subject lands are a 30-acre portion, 30-acre parcel designated Industrial General District. They're located immediately southeast of the intersection of Range Road 264 and Highway 1, right here, which is the location of the future interchange for the de Havilland Field development. So notably, this will cut off a large portion of this site. That will be kind of the on-ramp, the northbound on-ramp to getting to eastbound Highway 1. The applicant has proposed a development permit application for outdoor storage of trailers, recreational vehicles, and buses on a 5-acre portion of the lands located here in the southwest corner of the site. And they've stated that this is for a temporary basis. They're aware that it's the interchange is going to be coming in the future. So they're saying it's just a temporary thing. In terms of how administration would look at that in terms of the land use bylaw and area structure plan requirements, there is no temporary use for that type of thing. The development standards essentially are what they are. So they would still have to do things like lot grading, surfacing and approach screening, fencing, and utilities. As well, the area structure plan has some additional requirements for that. It states that the development and landscaping standards within 300 meters of Trans-Canada Highway will be of high quality befitting its location in view of a national highway. So the site itself is about 200 meters long, so it would be within that 300 meters. In terms of the offsite levy itself, it was adopted in conjunction with the West Highway 1 Area Structure Plan to accommodate commercial and industrial development within the planned area. And the way it was written, I think this kind of leads to kind of broader conversation of this proposal essentially being premature for kind of where we would normally see these type of developments. The offsite levy was written in order to apply to the whole site. So in that case, it would be the 30 acres. Typically what we'd see when this would be applied with something like the Origin development, where it's already been subdivided into smaller parcels, they each have their own development occurring, then it makes sense to apply to the whole site. In this case, the other thing to keep in mind is that you can only take a offsite levy once for lands. So it would have to be for the whole area, or if it would only be for part of it, then that essentially wouldn't be able to be collected later on. So administration has noted, well, I mean, most likely if it were to be for the full area, that the development would be unfeasible. However, our recommendation is based on the fact that having the lands stay undeveloped would be in the long-term interest of the county and the general public. Retaining these undeveloped state may be appropriate given the future use of the lands for the interchange. Allowing the development to proceed may complicate the acquisition of lands and delay construction in the future. So that said, we have provided 3 options. As I mentioned, that is our recommendation for the first option there to not approve the waiver. The second option would be to waive it in accordance with the applicant's request. And then the third option we have here is to only apply it to the 5 acres. I would note with that one, however, once you do that, the rest of the lands can't be collected for offsite levy. So if they were to develop in the future and they are part of the de Havilland Field Area Concept Plan, we wouldn't be able to collect the levy at that time. That concludes my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a few. Or do you have? Oh, sure. Go ahead, make a motion.
I move that the council denies the request to waive Wheatland County West Highway 1 area structure plan off-site levy bylaw for DP 2026-014.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? So this is the same place that there was some auctioned buses sitting there for a while, and I take it they were asked to be removed, and this is the reaction of them trying to legalize what was there. This applicant could easily put that anywhere on that property if they wanted to in a different spot. There's a whole bunch of issues with the access from the highway, things like that. Yeah, so this DP, is this in play already, or did we approve this one?
So they're in the process of submitting it. Because of the way the offsite levy is worded, essentially that's kind of part of the application process. So they're questioning that part. So they want to submit an application, but haven't fully yet.
Fair enough. Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
How much would the offset levy be?
It's on page 219.
Yeah, through the chair, I calculated it for both the full 30 acres and then the 5.
5 acres, $56,389.05. 29.96 acres equals $337,883.19. Any more discussion?
Well, I just feel like we should follow our land use bylaws and the planning documents that we have in place. I just don't think that we should vary them.
Yeah.
That's my position on it.
Councillor Hibbs.
I got to second that. It's one of those things where if you do it for this person, then you do it for the next, and pretty soon, it gets pretty scrambly. And so, I don't think we should forgive the offsite levies.
Perfect. Any other discussion before I call the question? I'll call the question. And that's carried. Message sent. Anything else on the agenda? I don't think so. We completed everything. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great day. This meeting is adjourned.